Hey everyone, welcome. Happy holidays. Russ, what's going on, Russ?
So I noticed on Twitter, we alluded to this a few weeks ago, and now it's become like full-fledged debate, Messi versus Pele.
hmm
And uh, it is a good debate. You definitely sent me some really good footage on Messi. To be fair, I still didn't watch the World Cup live because I
Yeah,
was boycotting it. I didn't want to tell you at the time because I didn't want to take away your buzz. You were enjoying it. That's fine.
that's fine. You don't have to.
Yeah, I'm just being real. But
Yeah,
some of that stuff you showed me was great. I probably noticed Pele maybe when he was 30. He was 34 in the Cosmos, but I knew he was winning World Cups and other things going on. You'd see occasional clips, and that's what I would see. I mean, the only really soccer player I knew before that was like Kyle Rote Jr. because of the superstars, not even so much because of his soccer playing. So I think it's hard for us to put it all together because we saw an older Pele, and everybody has seen Messi in his entire career. But still, I do still lean a little towards Pele, but I could be biased. So like Eck and Mike, you're better judges than
I mean,
me.
I didn't watch Pele enough.
Okay.
And I think actually Karen would be the best person because she's a full-fledged soccer fan. She's in the chat room right
Oh,
now.
let her chime in.
I am a soccer
And she's
fan.
not that old either. So
No, I'm a soccer fan out of necessity because I coached my daughter for many years and she went high so I just became a coach, a parent coach, and I got into it more than I thought I would. But then watching this guy, it's just obvious. I mean, his skills, and he showed up in what was probably the best soccer game I ever played. Honestly, this World Cup game, even people I know who are diehard soccer fans say
better than the game they played in the movie Victory. Really better than
Well, I
that.
was Russ. I was going to say that's what most people now know Pele for.
I know.
right.
The bicycle kick in victory.
Did you watch any of the World Cup final, Mike?
Oh yeah, I watched the whole thing.
Wasn't it something? I mean, it was a game. It was
like it was a game, but like I said, it was a game that really annoyed me because I was very heavy for Argentina and France coming back and tying it twice. I was just like throwing stuff because I hate.
Just to get into it, your team they mimic the Toronto Maple Leafs for you, right? And you're like,
I hate France with a passion. But no, this is the funny thing is, Messi and Mbappe are on the same club team. They're on Paris Saint-Germain. They're on this same team.
Yeah.
And then arguably the two best.
That's incredible. It is.
I think the Cosmos had that with Kanaye and Pele too. You had arguably the two best players in the world then too. I think.
Yeah, I mean they're different. And Messi's like
or Beckenbauer if you want to put Beckenbauer ahead of Kanaye.
Messi's a lot like a Crosby type play. Like I'm trying to think of a comparison. Like he's more of a Crosby, or Pele was more of a Gretzky, I think.
Yeah. I think that's true.
But Pele was just because Pele was bigger than the game, like Gretzky was bigger than the game.
That's true.
Messi came at a time when Beckham's out there. There's other players that have been big, right?
But the sort of blueprint has already been set. I mean, Pele when he came to play for the Cosmos was at the end of his career.
Yeah.
So he came to make money. And that's fine. And same with Giorgio Canaglio with the Cosmos. Beckham did that with the LA Galaxy, I think it was.
Yep.
Came over at the when he was done basically
with playing a million hamstring pulls. I remember that.
Right. Messi's going to do it this year.
Messi's coming to play for Miami.
Miami. That's what I've been saying that for a couple of months because I had a really good inside source on that one.
But you know what the thing is, he could back out of that now because he might be able to get more money some other place.
He could, but here's the thing, like the whole MLS will pay him to come to play for Miami. It's bigger than just like it's at that level. It's very similar to what when Bobby Hull came and played for the Winnipeg Jets, right? Like in the they named the friggin' team after him. They went out there and they the Golden Jet, right? Like they went out there and the whole league, you don't know. I don't know if this was actually happening or not, but behind the scenes, I wouldn't have blamed it if it did happen. If they all threw in some money, like. What Messi would mean to soccer in the United States is like what Gretzky meant to hockey on the West Coast. It's like
I see.
Here's a stat. Let me throw this stat in there. This is a FIFA stat. Messi had played in 26 matches, scored 13 goals for a .50 goals per match. Pele played in 14 matches, scored 12 goals for a .86 goals per match. So that's something where that's really
Pele is more. I mean, Messi. Best part of his game is actually his playmaking. Like he's a playmaker. He does score goals though, like in a similar way to Crosby. You know, where Crosby can put up 40 or 50 goals, but that's not what makes him magical. Like what makes Messi magical is he draws people, creates passing lanes, and then feeds his other teammates.
Yeah, but the thing is, and I'm not dismissing the impact that Messi might have on the MLS, but right now, as it currently stand, I mean, the English Premier League and teams like Real Madrid and Barcelona and Paris Saint-Germain, I mean, they're at such a higher level. The MLS is like playing in the VHL.
Yeah.
It
is. It's like the KHL.
Who has more impact on the world? Was it Messi or is it Pele? It seems like
Pele because it was the first thing. You know, it's like that's why I say like it's a Crosby effect. You know, with Messi, like not versus a Gretzky effect. You know, which is like just a different level. You know,
Pele was like Babe Ruth and
Gretzky. Like he was the first, and he brought the sport to America. Like Gretzky brought the sport to the West Coast, kind of. You know, in a lot of ways. Even though it already existed there.
All right, so I would say it like this then. Who do you want on your team? Messi or Pele? I still would take Pele.
Yeah, as a player, I probably would take Pele, but I don't know. Messi's very good at I don't know. Like I say, I didn't watch enough. It's
your first pick for a team. You don't know who else is going to be on the team.
Yeah, I didn't know. Like Messi's so good at making players around him better. It's hard to say. You know, like I don't know what Pele was like, except I know it was in individual accomplishments and just he was bigger than life. You know, he was just bigger than life.
Mike, you've seen both. Who would you pick? First pick.
I'm picking Pele.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's a different era, you know.
Yeah,
too.
It is. I mean, clearly it's a different era, but
it's like Gordie Howe and Ovechkin.
It's a good conversation because for years they're really, they were great players. Look, I mean, Ronaldo's great. There's great players, but it seemed like few were getting mentioned in the same vein as Pele, and now, last few years that's been the case. So
and he's definitely in there. He's definitely in that conversation, and having the excitement of all. I mean, how many people watched that World Cup final? I mean, it was the perfect timing for it, right before football on Sunday. It was like the great time.
I'll speak to that in a second because they were talking about this on a podcast I was listening to. Roger Goodell probably was pulling his hair out of his head.
Yeah.
Because the World Cup final ended at like 12:57.
Yep.
And the NFL game started at 1. And it was like if it would have, Fox was not going to cut away from penalty kicks in the World Cup final to go to, Tampa Bay, Cincinnati.
Really, what would you miss in an NFL game at the beginning? They really don't get going until like 1:10 anyhow.
Yeah. But that a lot of people would have been so angry if they didn't.
Oh, they'd have been mad.
This was such an epic sports event. Like to watch the event just in and of itself. I mean, even if you're not a soccer fan, like Mike, I'm sure you're not a soccer fan. So, but even
I'm a soccer fan when it comes to the World Cup because I don't have a team. Like I'm not Tottenham or Manchester City or I just don't get into it. But when it comes to the World Cup and even qualifying, like when the U.S. is in the CONCACAF trying to get in, I'm interested in that. But I don't have a club team that I'm like religious.
I certainly would have watched had they played in a less heinous country. But they just didn't.
But for him, that's true too. But for him to have this kind of stage, for Messi to have this kind of stage, that kind of viewership, and to perform like the way he did, scoring the goal, and then in the penalty kick, and then making a pass on another goal, like beautiful play.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah, for him to have that, that's what I mean by Crosby-esque, like kind of like Crosby in the.
Well, I guess that's the walk-off for his FIFA career, right? Like that's it.
He could really well. He could come. You never know.
But he could play in 4 years
he probably could. But
yeah.
So now, if he steps into the MLS in the US, it's just like his profile is even higher.
It seems like he'll be better than Beckham was. Again, Beckham didn't even show up.
Beckham was at the end.
I was at the White House with the Galaxy, and Beckham didn't even show up to the
right.
Let's just say this: in 4 years, it's being played in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico.
Yeah,
I would love to go to a game, even if it's a qualifying game. But like the closest game is Toronto, and it's in BMO where we went for the Leafs.
There's only sitting in a better spot. I talked about BMO today, and for people that don't know, Mike and I were like literally looking through like a tent.
No. It was like trying to watch a game through a friggin' cheesecloth. It was an opaque plastic cover, and I'm like, I'm not sitting. First of all, I'm sitting outside basically
Yeah.
with a plastic thing in front of me, and I can't watch the game. So we ended up going down to the media.
We were there for the ceremony, and then we left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get some nice pictures, but no, I went down to the media center where Russ met Bryan Adams, and I didn't.
There you
I
go.
had the opportunity. I'm like, Mike, look, Bryan Adams, and then I got up, and he should have gone with me, but he didn't.
I thought he was just going to keep walking, and Russ was like the interloper who stopped him in his
Don't
tracks.
care, right? Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
When
That's
was I going to
awesome.
see Bryan Adams again? Like,
That's right. I mean, the same thing happened to me with a country star. I can't remember who it was
Yeah.
in Nashville. Forget who was there and gave
we
a press
walked
conference,
in.
and I talked to him for a bit too.
when we walked in, at first we couldn't tell who was playing, right? Because we were all like, all the media was getting pushed to one area, and Mike and I started hearing some chords, and I was like, "Is that Bryan Adams?" And we didn't even know who was playing at that game because they never really publicized it. And then Mike heard, and he goes, "That is Bryan Adams," and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And then we ended up meeting him.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. All right. Let's get started with the show. Here we go. Hello, Hockey World. It's Tuesday, December 20th, 2022.
I'm Michael Lagello, and everything I do it for you.
I'm Russ Cohen, and I'm still stuck in the summer of '69.
Baby, you're all that I want. All right. So, yeah. And I'm Eklund. You're watching HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is a podcast that comes every Monday through Friday, fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world. And yes, I am being attacked by the abominable snowman behind me. I'm actually, so my son every year, we do this thing where we go to the mall and I make a costume every year to go to the mall.
You only go to the mall once a year?
Well, we go to the mall. We go to the mall more than once a year, but ever since I was 3 or 4 years old, I've gone to the mall every Christmas
closed
Eve.
down.
Right, every Christmas Eve I go.
So what mall though? Because Montgomery closed down, right? Montgomery
Closed down. It's still there.
Oh, I thought they were selling out. I thought it was.
It's not really a mall worth going to. There are not many stores there, but I'm not going to go there. I'll be at King of Prussia. But
King of Prussia. Okay.
So Christmas Eve. But and what we like to do is we like to wear like make a costume every year and just walk through the mall and like kind of like make people laugh and get people to take pictures with us. So this year he said, I want you to make the abominable snowman from Rudolph. So this is my head. I've been working on it for a while now. It's getting there. But that was a
Wait, you talking about behind you? That's good. I like it.
Yeah, I made that. Yep. That's the top of the head, and the rest. That's the hardest part of it. The rest of the body is just a big white thing. But yeah, it'll be ready pretty soon. But yeah, I love wearing costumes and going into places and just like making people laugh. It's really fun. So let's talk about.
I was going to say one thing about the abominable snowman. You know how you have fake. You never see an abominable snowman with glasses. Like there's never one that's aged. And they say, "Oh, look, it's an older abominable snowman, so now he needs glasses."
No, Russ. He had laser surgery.
Yeah,
that's funny. Yeah, well, the abominable snowman technically, by the way, was given to a guy who was researching the Yeti.
Yeah.
But so this is the Bumble from Rudolph. Now, I did want to talk about Rudolph for a second, real quick.
Yeah, talk about it.
Because I watched it the other night, and I know that this
the original.
Yes, the original. Now, and it has There's lots of issues with this with Rudolph. It was made in 1968. Okay, so
right.
At a very weird time, in American history, obviously, 68.
Yes.
Yeah. So why the reindeer had to be needlessly cruel to Rudolph at the beginning was kind of crazy. He had
a red nose. The other ones didn't.
I know you don't get to play in any more reindeer games. No daughter of mine's dating a red-nosed reindeer. They were really great lines.
You don't know what the world was like then. That was accurate.
I know. They were really great lines. And then
the reindeer just came back from the Tet Offensive.
Right. And race riots. I mean, there were race riots going on. So you're sitting there and then there's Herbie who wants to be a dentist. And he's the only male elf with blonde hair. Is he really an elf at all? He goes off into the woods with Rudolph for a while, and they go off and they meet Yukon Cornelius, who's the illegitimate son of Santa, according to some memes online. Yeah. And but then there's this moment when Rudolph's dad, who's been really a bastard to him, goes, I got to go find him. I got to look for him, and his mom wants to come along too, and he says, "No, you stay here. This is man's work." And there's that moment,
wow,
which is fantastic. And
then different on the Brady Bunch. Yeah,
I know. And then at the moment when Yukon Cornelius, they think he dies going over the cliff with the Bumble behind me. The line is they all felt sad and for a while, but they realized the best thing to do was to get the women back to Snowtown. So
Yeah, you got to save the women. Sure.
And then Rudolph, who's been screwed the entire time, shows up, of course, in the middle of the big storm, and suddenly he's everyone's friend. And it's like because
if Rudolph didn't have that tough upbringing, he wouldn't have rose to that.
I know, but and they needed him just because.
He had a chip on his shoulder. Like it's the same as a hockey player. Sometimes
if I'm Rudolph, I'm like, screw you, old man. You weren't nice to me. Why am I going to save your Christmas? But Rudolph steps up and says, "Oh,
he
sure."
Rose above that. Rudolph rose above that.
So I know. I thought Rudolph's a good character. And speaking of good character,
like if Mike were one of the reindeer, Mike would have left them all. Like they would forget it.
Mike would never help Santa out after all that.
No.
But let's speaking of character plays, Cale Makar. Last night, you missed it. There was a penalty called, and there's a lot of discussion about this thing.
Yeah. I didn't miss it. Like I saw the post.
Yeah, I saw the highlight of it. Where Cale Makar is pulled down by I forget who it was. And anyway,
Matthew Barzal.
Right, Matthew Barzal, right? Barzal. And he Barzal pulls him down, and the ref calls a penalty, and Makar says, "No, I just lost my footing. It's not a penalty." And the ref uncalls the penalty based on Makar's, I guess admitting that it wasn't a penalty or whatever. There's a lot of now. First of all, obviously it's cool, like it's Cale Makar.
He is an aw shucks kind of guy. I've interviewed him enough to say that even as good as he is right now, as great as he is, he doesn't feel that he acts that way still.
Yeah. That's true. I agree, and he absolutely completely. Okay, here's the play. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I can see what happened. Well, now that he says it, you can see where he just lost his edge.
Yeah, so he puts his hand up in the air and it goes over to the referee and says, "No, it's not that." And so the crazy thing is, the referee uncalls the penalty, which is kind of a strange thing because, think about this for a second. Is this setting a precedent? How often have we seen a team that doesn't want to go on the power play again because their power play sucks?
Never. In all the years of watching hockey, I've never seen a player do that.
And so we never knew what the ref would do. Would the ref say, "Well, I called it. I'm the ref, so whatever,"
Right, the ref could do that.
He could do that, and I think probably maybe should have done that in some ways. But the others,
Mike, we can't hear you.
There's so many levels, right?
I've seen high sticking calls that got reviewed because there's if it's a double minor or a 5-minute they review. And then they find out that the stick, say for example, the stick was from that person's teammate, and they took
Does that seem the same to you, Mike? That is not the same.
No, this was a situation where he admitted that he didn't.
Right. When have you seen that again? That's the
I haven't, but
well, eventually, they're saying in the chat room.
That's it. Thank you for your answer.
Well, let me finish my sentence for 1 second. A guy like Cale Makar can get away with it because he's Cale Makar. If it was a lesser player, I think the coach would probably get in the guy's kitchen and say, "You just took away the power play from us."
Yeah, the coach was like, that's just the kind of guy he is. That's he said all the right things.
Yeah, Bednar's good that way too. Bednar's got a very easygoing, even personality. Not to say he doesn't go off the handle, but he really does most of the time. And just think about it, like that guy at the beginning, he could have quit in Colorado the way he was just handed the job, and they had that lousy season. Patrick Waugh built a garbage team basically, and
because of that lousy season, they drafted Cale Makar.
Yeah,
it's true. So I mean, it was really a great. Then there's a sportsmanship aspect to it, which I love. To teach kids about. That's the best part of it. That's a big part of it too, which is nice. But then it occurred to me, there's times when my team is terrible on the power play, and they keep getting power plays in the game, and I want them not to get a power play. And I wondered if you could ever have this situation where a guy says, no, I wasn't pulled down because he doesn't want a team to go on a power play again. He would rather, keep.
Nobody would ever do that.
It doesn't seem to make any sense, but we've all had the joke of they should decline the penalty, right? We've heard that joke plenty of times, right? Because teams are getting a good momentum going 5-on-5, and then the power play just kills it.
Sure. But, at the end of the day, we're still talking about a rarity. If nothing else, you would rather be on the power play just to have the puck more. That's all.
Yeah, I agree with you. But does this set up a situation where you could actually technically decline a penalty because the referee changed it? Like the referee changing his mind.
I think it could happen more I just unfortunately don't think a lot of the hockey players would admit to it. Would Brad Marchand ever do that? No way.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But now, I mean, but Makar, I mean, the street cred this gives Makar now with referees is huge. I mean, think about, like, if he does get pulled down now, they're always going to assume, you know, it's real. Like, you know, so he puts himself in a very good, powerful position of strength where last night's power play didn't matter.
Brad Marchand would demand a 5-minute penalty for tripping on that.
Yeah, exactly. So it was fascinating. I like when this kind of thing happens because it throws everybody in the hockey world for a loop and makes you question all these other parts of it. But
it's awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was really awesome, and you know, and something that just funny. Just a couple days ago, I was thinking about this. Like, would anybody ever admit? It's weird. I mean, I didn't bring it up, but I forget why. But I saw something happen in a game, and I thought to myself, would anybody ever admit that they weren't actually pulled down? Here it happens.
Yeah, but you know what's funny? The dichotomy is, so Islander fans really respect and love Cale Makar. Ranger fans hate him because he called out Shesterkin for showboating on a glove save, which I'm not sure that he did because that's the way he makes that kind of glove save. But he, you know, it was flashy, and he called him out on that, and then Ranger fans hated him.
Rangers fans hated him. I know. But I think it's great. I mean, I think it's great, and I think that, you know, I think, you know, what people just don't realize is like that Cale Makar actually just did himself a solid. Like, it's going to help him down the line.
Oh, no, he definitely did. You're right. He definitely ingratiated himself within the referee circle.
Absolutely. So, there was that. Then, of course, now we're in the trade freeze, officially. And, so we had the big trade yesterday.
Massive trade.
Oh, please, that 3-way deal. I'm surprised we didn't lead off with that.
This is where I miss Thomas Boyle, because Thomas Boyle would have given us a message that said, big trade.
Yeah,
right. It wouldn't have been that big.
I tried on HockeyBuzz.
Major announcement.
With HockeyBuzz, I had my headline was, "We have a trade." You know, like I did the whole.
Yeah, and it was Dennis Malgin for Dryden Hunt.
That's it, you know. But
a three-way deal that the best player in it is Giovanni Smith, which is not saying much because Giovanni Smith is just a sort of okay, maybe borderline fourth liner in the NHL.
Yeah.
So zippity doo dah.
Yeah.
I mean, what I do think is, and I predicted, and you know, I made him wrong. I thought that the Chychrun deal would have happened before the trade freeze, but I look at what Chychrun is doing right now with Arizona. He's still at a point per game pace. And I mean, yes, maybe there are teams out there that are waiting to see whether he continues this and he stays healthy. But I also think it's the cap. It's the cap. The cap is crippling. And you know, Russ said something to me yesterday, and I'm fearful of this being the case. I mean, yes, I think teams will go into LTIR money and they'll do 3-way deals to divide the salary and shed 25%. But everybody is so tight. You know, half the league is LTIR right now. Are we going to see like any major deals other than just
a couple? I think you'll see 2 or 3. I think the rest are going to be just a little better than yesterday. There'll be players moving, but like again, when the Flyers trade Justin Braun, it's for like a 5th-round pick.
Right.
Yeah, I think you will see a couple bigger trades because of the disparity. There is a disparity building. And their teams aren't going to be in the playoff hunt, you know, at all. And,
I think the big deals are going to be. I mean, okay, I don't expect, and maybe things will change, but I don't expect Bo Horvat to sign with Vancouver, and I don't think Vancouver, when we get around to March the 3rd, is going to be in a realistic stance in terms of making the playoffs. So if I'm Patrick Alvin and Jim Rutherford, and
they got to get rid of him.
They have to move him because you cannot risk a guy who's on a career year and the potential assets you have. You cannot. You are doing yourself a disservice and the organization a disservice if you don't trade him and get as much as you can for him. Because if he's not signing, then you know you're losing an asset.
Yeah, and honestly, right now it probably would be good for them to do that and make it a trade like similar to what Russ said the other day with for Sandin thing not Sandin but
for Bowen Byram.
Bowen Byram for
no, not the Bowen Byram one. I was thinking the Flyers can have trade.
Oh yeah.
Well, that possibility still exists. Those kinds of trades.
Well, that's the Besser deal.
Besser for Sanheim.
Yeah, because Besser
for Sanheim. I think if I'm Vancouver and I'm Philadelphia, the way things are going for both teams right now, you might as well do that. Like,
that's a reasonable deal.
This is when you do it.
That's a reasonable deal for both teams. The only thing I think that would make it a little sort of one-sided is the fact that, I mean, okay, if Vancouver's a believer in Sanheim and they're comfortable with the fact that he's signed for 8 years, then okay, fine. Besser's only signed for 2. I mean, 8 years is a significant investment, and if it's a guy you're a little skeptical about, then probably you're not trading.
But he's young and it's low cost,
right? Well, not low, 6.25.
It'll be low when in a couple of years. That's the thing.
Well, yeah, with a $90 million cap, it's low, but it's not low right now.
No, but it will be. I mean, but if it doesn't happen, like Kane has to move. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts.
Taves has to move. Taves has to move.
Taves has to move too.
Yeah.
Timo Meyer probably has to move. Klingberg has to. I mean, that's the thing. The deadline will be interesting. The deadline will be busy, but it'll be busy mostly for those rental guys.
Right.
And those are not sexy deals. I mean, they're sexy to us because like we'll know who those prospects and those draft picks are. But it's not like, I mean, you look at even the NFL now. The NFL is making lots of trades at the trade deadline. The Major League Baseball at the winter meetings, it's hopping. The Major League trade deadline on July 31st is hopping. The NHL right now has paralyzed themselves with. I mean, and it wasn't their fault. It was because of the pandemic. But the flat cap has absolutely killed.
So we've got some breaking news here. And I only bring it up because I remember hearing for a large part of the season, you know, how many players are injured on the Flyers and yada yada. Yegor Chinnikov now is out for Columbus, and we're talking about at least 11 players.
Warinsky, Laine.
No, Liney's back. Liney's back.
No, but I mean he's been hurt twice. Merzlikins was hurt for a while. I mean, they've just been
decimated. They have their top line, they do, but they are decimated.
Merzlikins is sick, not playing tonight.
Yeah, he's out.
So
it's like, it's just kind of crazy. So I mean, the
goalie they thought was going to be their third string goalie, Tarasov, he's played. I don't know if he's played the most games, but he's played a lot more in the NHL than they ever expected him to.
But this is a game. It's funny. On another show, we termed it as a must-win for the Flyers for them mentally. Like this is a game where they clearly match up better than the opponent. It's at home.
Yeah,
they should win this game. They need to win this game just to like be in the right mental state.
Yeah, they do. They really do. Because it means a lot. It's a lot. I appreciate that. I saw that. That's awesome. No, I think you're right. It's it's also Columbus, so it's got the Tortorella thing to it too. You know.
Yeah, because otherwise, then they have to go to Toronto and play in that cockamamie 2 p.m. game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
understand it, Mike.
I don't either. A Thursday afternoon at 2 p.m. I mean, it'd be one thing if it was Friday, but that
Friday school is off. If you wanted to say it's a kids game.
Well, here's the thing, you guys.
Well, yeah, look, that's the thing. For the 23rd or the 22nd is the last day of games. The 23rd through the 27th, I think, is the Christmas freeze or break.
Right.
So that was the Leafs traditionally will play a game on the last day in the afternoon, but I don't know I don't know about that.
I saw online that the kids are not off that day.
Yeah, I mean if they're not.
I mean, in my kid, I can tell you like we're obviously not in Toronto, but they have half days that day.
Yeah.
So my kid gets out at like 12. And then is off on Friday.
Terry 3Ds or one of you Canadians out there, enlighten us.
Yeah. I'm looking right now. Their Christmas vacation starts the 9th, so it started on Monday.
So they're already off.
They're already off.
So that's why they're doing it. I mean, it's like, besides the fact, and it gets the players an extra day to go on vacation. Basically, it gives them an extra day vacation because they can get out tonight. They can get back to wherever they're going tonight.
But think about it: if the Flyers lose this game, Eck,
Yeah.
I'm going to put the odds at 0% of them beating the Toronto Maple Leafs at a 2 p.m. game on Thursday. 0%.
I mean, it's hard to argue with that. But at the same time with hockey, that's kind of the biggest probable not win usually goes the other way. So I don't know.
Yeah, see, Northern 96 goes in Ontario. It goes up to the end of the 23rd for some school boards.
Yeah, I mean, I know that.
So it's not for everybody, Mike.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I thought in Canada. I mean, I think at least in Toronto, downtown Toronto.
Like, can you call Doug Ford and find out?
Yeah, I'll call him right now. I got.
Yeah, well, it would be tough if you try to call Rob Ford.
Rob Ford, whatever.
No. Rob Ford is dead. Doug.
Oh,
Ford.
so it is Doug. I said right.
That's what I'm saying. It would be tough.
You were just making fun of me with the wrong name.
No, I was just saying it would be tough to call Rob Ford.
No, I understand.
Yeah, there you go.
The 23rd, some are still going to be in school for this game, so I don't know.
I mean, people just have been trying to appeal to a younger audience. I mean, after all, milk is their sponsor.
So what you're saying is they're discriminating against the lactose intolerant?
I know. They're looking for a younger crowd. They're going from
I'm just going to say for Schitt's Creek, for which I always have these Funkos up there. There is an episode about unpasteurized milk, and it's illegal to obtain it, and it's really funny. You should watch it.
Yes.
That's a good one.
No, that's pretty funny. My grandfather was a milkman, so I know all about that. And on top of that, when we moved into Pennsylvania, not 10 years ago, we had milk. We had a milkman.
10 years ago?
10 years ago, we had a milkman who delivered milk to us in glass bottles every Wednesday.
Wow, I haven't had one of those probably since I was like 12 years old.
It was pretty cool. It was way more expensive than just buying milk normally.
But you have to go get it. He's not bringing it to you.
This was
bringing it to us.
No, Mike is holding up.
This was an eggnog bottle. Now it's being used for a fine beverage called Tang.
All right. Eggnog? No, I can't do it.
Eggnog's gross.
Really?
I can't do it. My wife likes
Oh my
it.
God. Eggnog is so good.
You and my wife have the same food taste, Mike.
Eggnog sprinkled with a little cinnamon and some nutmeg.
Nutmeg. She uses nutmeg, yeah.
Woo.
She's been drinking this thing called Glog. You know what Glog is? It's like
vomit.
It's a big drink in Germany and Sweden and Denmark, which is over there. They all were drinking it. It's like wine heated up with raisins and nuts in it. I'm surprised that she loves it, but she does love it. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense for her.
I'm sure the whole family's not eating that.
No.
Let's talk about the goalie thing, Russ. Because
go ahead.
Because last night, in a couple games, the decisions made by teams during the offseason sort of came to the forefront. I mean, I watched a little of the Red Wings Capitals game, and Ville Husso, he lost last night, but in general, he's been really good for the Wings. And they signed him to a 3-year contract after trading for his rights. And there, Toronto was interested, but I guess Detroit offered a higher draft pick, and Husso had something to say about it because he was a restricted free agent at the time. There was talk about Buffalo being interested in Husso, but the talk around Buffalo is we didn't want to sign a goaltender to a long-term deal because we didn't want to block the path of Devin Levi. Mm-hmm. Devin Levi is a junior in college right now, and I don't think anybody believes that Devin Levi is going to play in the NHL in 2023
or 24 probably.
Yeah, I mean he'll sign an ELC, and maybe he'll play a few games at the end of the year for the Sabres because it won't matter because they want to burn the first year of the entry level contract. But more than likely, he's going to be playing the entire year or most of the year in Rochester next year. Mm-hmm. Which is what they wanted for Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, and they couldn't because the guy that they did sign, Eric Comrie, who they signed to a 2-year deal, got hurt, and now Luukkonen has had a couple good games in a row for Buffalo. And I'm not saying, I mean, I'm open-minded in terms of Luukkonen potentially being good. It's just every time he has a good game or two, Russ, he then shits the bed. He's then terrible.
Yeah, the issue is with Buffalo. If Pekka Luukkonen's not the man this year, right? If they find that out or think that, they have to go out and find a goalie for like 2 years, maybe 3.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to do that anymore. And my basic point was if you start thinking about decisions that teams make on goalies, like Edmonton still, for whatever reason, hasn't made the right decision. Maybe it'll work out still for Campbell. Who knows? But they've struggled for years. Detroit may have found their goalie, and Detroit could surpass Buffalo just because Buffalo won't have that goalie. Like, they could be the next version of the Edmonton Oilers very easily.
Well, Detroit effectively, found their stopgap because, Husso for 3 years, this year and 2 more, and then by that time, Kosa might be ready. Yeah, and if he isn't, then you just sign Husso to an extension and you're covered. Right. With Buffalo, the long term, Buffalo is like Levi is their Kosa. They don't know whether he's going to be, he's going to be great or not. I mean, Kosa is in the AHL right now, and Levi is a junior at Northeastern. So you don't know what they're going to be. You're not going to be able to find out what they are for a year or two at least. But Buffalo right now has Buffalo has a 41-year-old Craig Anderson who's still playing well, and Eric Comrie who's hurt, and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who you don't know what he really is.
And if Pekka Luukkonen's not showing you the right things, you can't go into next season with those goalies.
Right. I mean, Anderson's a free agent. Luukkonen, I believe, is an RFA, and this is we'll track this over the summer act, but the market in terms of free agents for next year for goalies. Varlamov is 35 years old.
Yeah.
You have Tristan Jarry. You have Freddie Anderson.
Yeah.
Antti Ranta. I mean, it's
none
not
of these are great choices.
I mean, Jarry is the best if he gets there, but he won't get there.
They're not great choices, but what we also have to factor in is, okay, which one of these goaltenders? I mean, Freddie Anderson just took a 2-year deal with Carolina, and it's the last year of the deal this year. How willing are these guys going to be to take short-term deals? I mean, maybe they're just happy to get. They're just happy to get jobs. Yeah, Cam Talbot's another one. Maybe they're just happy to get jobs, but most of them want, long-term deals.
Yeah,
and they're probably not going to get them.
You can't. To me, if you're Buffalo, you can't sign any of those guys to a long-term deal, like I said, except for maybe Jarry. But Jarry's not going to be on the market. Pittsburgh's going to sign him.
He's not. No,
Jonathan. There you go, Jonathan Quick. I mean, does anybody? I think he's probably going to re-sign with LA or retire. Varlamov, Freddie Anderson. Okay, Ben Bishop's done. Jonathan Bernier is probably done. Cam Talbot, Jarry, Nedeljkovic.
None of them are your long-term solution if you're the Sabres.
Yeah, Mackenzie Blackwood's an RFA. Aiden Hill, UFA. Ranta, UFA. Martin Jones. Ilya Samsonov is an RFA without ARB rights. So if he ends up having a really great year and he demands, say, $4 million a year, the Leafs may end up having to trade him because they can't pay him $4 million a year. But they might get something.
The Leafs aren't going to trade with the Sabres.
No, they're not going to trade with the Sabres. But I'm saying in terms of the goaltender market overall, they may, if Samsonov has that good of a year and they qualify him, then they could end up trading him because. Yeah. But so that's one piece out there, but. It's not a bumper crop.
No.
And Buffalo really has to. I mean, because everything is going in the positive direction right now. Dahlin is playing great. Owen Power looks like he's going to be a really good player. Tage Thompson is establishing himself as maybe as good a center as the guy they traded in Jack Eichel. They've got support pieces like Tuck and Skinner who are playing well. So it's starting to come together.
But goaltending could derail it.
But the lack of goaltending could derail it. And that's the big thing.
Yeah. There's another team I'm worried about. I'm worried about the Florida Panthers. I'm not sure they're making the playoffs.
No, I mean, I'm right there with you. Matt, and it's funny because it's not Matthew Tkachuk is having a bonkers year. Like he's having a great year. It's not him. They talk about that trade. That trade's not the reason they're having. I mean, I just don't like the way Maurice has them playing, to be honest. Like
goals for 111, goals against 111.
Well,
Maurice has them playing a very different style than Quenneville or Brunette after him.
Right, because those coaches had them playing basically wide open offense.
Yeah.
I mean, they were as wide open offensively as Toronto last year.
Yeah.
But that team can't. That team is like Toronto a couple years ago. They can't play defense.
Yeah.
And maybe they won't play defense because they're just not structured that way. And Maurice, right, I agree with Esmir in the chat. Maurice was the wrong choice with that team, but that's the direction they wanted to go because they knew that they couldn't win in the playoffs playing wide open offense. And
they wanted to go with experience. Yeah, they wanted to get like a really. And I mean, I didn't think it was the right decision at the time, but that's because of things I'd heard about Maurice in Winnipeg. But the way. But at the end of the day, they went for experience. Quenneville was the experienced guy. They really didn't. They really didn't want. What happened with Quenneville? Obviously, what happened with Quenneville. But they wouldn't have. He would still be there now if that never happened. He would still be there. For many years to come. I think that was a perfect fit for them. But he at least gave him he knew when to let them go. And also that they just lost a lot of good role players, like a lot of really key.
Here's the problem, Matt. Not to interrupt. I'm sorry. Just statistically to kind of help you with this, I'm looking it up. They're about the 9th best scoring team, but they're the 26th power play. 26.
Their power play has been a mess forever. That's one of the reasons I think that they very well could be in on Gostisbehere, as the season goes along. Not only is he from Miami, from that area, which they tried to get him from Philadelphia before, and the Flyers wouldn't trade him for some unknown reason.
Yeah,
but I think that they just need to jumpstart their power play with something like that. They need to get their power play going. Their power play derailed them last year against Tampa in the playoffs. They went 0 for 25 in that series or something like that. It was just crazy. So
that was interesting because Brunette does lead there. He goes to the Devils where Lindy seems like he's in trouble, and then Burnett's there, and now everything's great, and everything's not great in Florida without Burnett. Even though they lost in the playoffs, I get it, but they really blamed a lot on Burnett in the playoffs, it seemed.
Yeah, it seems like they did, and I'm not completely against that either. I thought Burnett was very bad at adjusting in the playoffs. Honestly, I thought
he's also a young in that moment head coach.
Yeah, and I think that's what they didn't like. They didn't like the way they adjusted. He adjusted in the playoffs. He's a very casual guy, and it's like that doesn't rub right with some of the more competitive people.
But they could have kept Burnett and brought in an elder statesman to kind of be one of his assistants.
Yeah. Kind
of like what Lindy is with him and Burnett. It's like a good combination. And they could have had that combination instead of Maurice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But I also think Burnett is a better assistant coach than a head coach. I think that's the other thing too. He's just one of those guys who is a really good assistant coach.
That's fair.
I thought Tocchet was a good fit for them, honestly.
Yeah, he could have been. I mean,
I think that's where I would have gone. But they definitely wanted to go with more experience and
losing Uyghur hurts. Like I get it, Northern 96. Like they're weak on defense, but they still should be better than this.
They should be. I mean, they're not. They're still in the
they're in the race.
Yeah, they're not. And I think they are working on some things. And you could see that at some point they could easily bounce back up and be the best team in the division or close to the best team in the division. They're not that far off.
But if you get in the race, Zach, I mean, you're basically talking about, and I don't think the Sabres will stay with it, and I don't think anybody else in the division's there. So I think it's honestly Florida, the Capitals, the Islanders, Penguins. 2 teams are making it.
Yeah. No, it's very possible. Florida's not. I said before the season that Florida wasn't. I didn't think Florida was a guarantee for the playoffs, and I just think they lost too many important locker room type people too. They're going to a coach that's not necessarily suited for them, in my opinion. But
I mean, Pittsburgh is probably doing better than we all thought. Even though I did pick them for the playoffs, but I was still a little leery. The Islanders are dropping. They're 3-5-2 in their last 10. They're not playing great on the road.
Washington's red hot.
They got hot. They're 7-2-1.
Red hot.
Yeah, I mean, the Rangers could fall into the wild card, but I don't think they'll fall out of it. So I really do think it's those 4 teams for 2 spots. So if I'm the Panthers, again, they're going to have to trade, and they're running out of assets.
Yeah. And I don't think they will trade. I think they will. I think they'll try to push this through. I think they feel like they have the talent, but the question is,
they're wrong.
Yeah, they might be. They might be.
I mean, honestly, the problem with Florida, and I think it was exacerbated by the Uyghur inclusion in the trade for Tkachuk, is when your number 2 defenseman is Gustav Forsling, you're in trouble. I like Montour's a good maybe 4. Radko Gudas is a good bottom pairing, but your number one defenseman is a guy who gets hurt all the time in Ekblad, and your number two defenseman is Gustav Forsling. That's not good. Now, I don't know if they go out at the deadline or before the deadline and trade for Gostisbehere, because but Gostisbehere is not exactly Rod Langway either, and I think they need need more of a defensive type of defenseman or somebody who's more aggressive than a guy who just freewheels the puck like Gostisbehere does.
So we talk about goaltending still, and we go to the Hurricanes, right? If you remember, I picked them to win the division on the strength of Kochikov. I wasn't even thinking about Freddie Anderson. I was thinking about Kochikov. Kochikov right now is just – he's doing great. In 14 games, a .923 and a .201 goals against. Now, it's a short window here, but he also had a good little window, smaller window last year. Yeah. So, if Freddie Anderson comes back, he's the backup for me.
Yeah.
I don't know what he'll do, but
he's got to be. He's got to be. I mean, I agree completely. I don't. It has to go that way. I mean, he's been phenomenal, and everybody down there just loves him. I mean, everybody I talk to thinks he's really. They compare him to Ottinger and other players too. Like, they think maybe he's be that good.
Maybe Don Waddell considers trading Freddie Anderson before the deadline.
Maybe because he has 3 shutouts. I mean, in 14 games. Now, granted, he has a great defense. But he is still a young goalie for this league. At 23, he hasn't played a lot, 17 games. So that's where and even a lot of pro games. Like even in Chicago, he only played 15, 20 games. So basically, he's a product of the KHL. And I talked about that on Sirius today. And I said,
I thought that was a good point. I heard you on Sirius about that one.
Yeah, the KHL's done a great job of developing goalies for the NHL.
Yeah.
They really have.
It does, and it makes sense because they're playing against top quality guys,
Yeah, and Kochikov's and one of them, Georgiev's another one. Besides the top guys that we always talk about, so that's I just look at the Carolina Hurricanes, and maybe this is the secret ingredient for them because one of these years they're gonna get to the cup. I think it's this year, but you never know. Something always goes wrong with them.
Yeah, and with them, I think they'd be really hesitant to trade Anderson because of all the goalie issues they've had in the playoffs. They really should stay with. They just to keep Anderson
just in case.
I'm saying that's an option. I'm not saying it's a guarantee.
Yeah, I just think that they have had playoff disasters with goalies, and and that's cost them most of their playoff.
Like Freddie Anderson for Matt Murray, straight up.
Yeah, that'll work.
Oh, look how he's turned on Freddie Anderson, Eck. It's unbelievable.
I didn't turn on Freddie Anderson.
Mike's been anti-Freddie Anderson for a while. I think Mike's been anti-Freddie Anderson for quite a while. I mean,
no. I mean, again, the first 4 years in Toronto, Freddie Anderson, I think was ill-served by Mike Babcock, who played him 65, 66 games.
Yeah.
And then he was essentially spent when they needed great goaltending against the Bruins, the 2 series in a row, and they went to 7 games. I didn't think he was not the reason they lost to Columbus, but then he got hurt, and then they had to play Jack Campbell in the playoffs. And I believe they made the right move in not re-signing Anderson because it was time to move on. Mm-hmm. And he had a great year last year. But then he got hurt 2 weeks before the playoffs?
Yeah.
And now, he's injury prone right now to the point where it's hard to get behind him, even if you like him.
Yeah, I agree.
It's tricky. I mean, so I do want to mention a little bit more about Tage Thompson you brought up, Mike. Obviously, now he's the 3rd leading scorer in the NHL, only behind Draisaitl and McDavid. 25 goals in 25 games. Mm-hmm. Something impressive. I think you're right that he might be where Eichel. He might be as good as Eichel was there. Which is really something that I don't think anybody saw coming. But yeah, he's been phenomenal. And
no, you'd be lying if you said, "Oh yeah, I know Tage Thompson is going to outscore Jack Eichel someday." Like you'd be lying.
Yeah, that's insane, right? So, and then I look at Robinson in Dallas, who's kind of fallen back a little bit, back to normal a little bit.
But he's still, like you heard what I said, he's still 0.51 goals per game. Like
who's better, Robinson or Thompson? That was my thought.
Okay.
Who do you think?
I have to go with Robertson because I feel like Thompson's going to come down to earth a little bit, even though he's the center. So I'm going to go Robertson still because I still feel like Robertson can drive the team offensively. I don't know if Thompson's going to drive his team offensively for his whole career now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still a little fearful of the injury bug coming back with Thompson. Thompson had, up until last year, he missed significant time every year with a variety of injuries.
Right.
The thing in his favor is he's a monster at I think 6'6" or 6'7" playing center.
Yeah.
And that probably means he won't be taking as much punishment along the wall as if he was playing the wing. So
right.
It's a tough one. I mean, I would probably go with Robertson because Robertson's younger and has just shown just like his ascendancies like this. So I'd probably go with Robertson.
Yeah, how much younger is he? Just a couple years though, right?
I think Robertson's 22.
Yeah, I think it's 3 years, 4 years.
3 years, okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
remember Thompson played college, so there was that.
Right. Yeah, no,
Jason Robertson is 23. And Tage Thompson, I believe, is 25. But I was
just going to say 25. So it's pretty close. I mean,
it's close to
25.
Okay, I thought he was 26 or 7. All right.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you could pick one for your team, I think I would probably go with Thompson, just because
it depends on the needs of your team.
Yeah, but like you say, just the getting a 6'6" center who can score goals.
I can't argue with you. Like
that's just like
neither can I. But if you're Edmonton and you've got McDavid and Draisaitl 1-2 in the middle, then you're taking Robertson. If you're a team like Ottawa, who they have Norris and maybe they have Stützle, but center wise they're not as so solid. You probably take Thompson.
Yeah. No, I agree.
What would the Edmonton Oilers be like with Jason Robertson? That's a good question.
Yeah, that would be.
They'd still give him a ton of goals.
That's the player they have not had, they
had it for a while in Evander Kane.
Had for a while with Evander Kane, but it doesn't. It just it still doesn't feel like a Gretzky Curry type situation, or they haven't had. They haven't had
once every 50 years. I mean,
but just our Bossy Trache, like Edmonton hasn't had that. They haven't had that. And Marner and Matthews, they're that way.
Robertson's been a better player than Yamamoto, but I really thought very highly. And Yamamoto's doing okay. He's got 100 points, but he's just not Jason Robertson. So it is interesting. I can't kill Edmonton for that, though, because Yamamoto was a heck of a player. But, man, Jason Robertson there would have been something. But I'll tell you who really would be kicking themselves would be the Sabres, because they took Marcus Davidson, who's never played a game in the NHL, just 2 picks before Jason Robertson.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. No, I mean, geez, and but all the people who've missed on Cole Caulfield.
Oh yeah,
is still insane. That was.
He's got 19 goals. He's a .42 goals per game at 21 years of age.
Yeah,
he's going to get 40 this year, maybe
on a team that's just no one should get 40 goals on. So
yeah.
That's going to be impressive. That's going to be something. He's going to be a player for a long time.
No, he's going to. Yeah, I again. It's just there are some players that you have to take when you see they have like this offensive ability that he had. Even if you don't feel like anything else is good in his game, sometimes you just have to take that guy. And the thing that improved the most on Caulfield wasn't the shooting to me; it was his skating. His skating is so much better now than it was 2 years ago that now it makes him even better. Yeah, Curran, I don't think he's going to get 49. I'm holding him at 40 right now, but someday he could get 50. I don't know if this will be the year, though, because like X said, he doesn't have the greatest supporting cast. So, yes, Suzuki, but, they'll have a better power play in another year. When Slavkovsky is more in tune with the NHL and he's on the power play, then he could probably get more goals.
Yeah. He could use that. That would help him a lot, for sure. I agree. Anything else we got today, guys? We good?
We're good.
All right. Okay. Thanks. Thanks all for watching. Tomorrow we will be back again. Believe with Kevin tomorrow, and then we're gonna be talking on Thursday about the World Juniors. So there won't be any show on Friday as we celebrate the holiday. But so we'll talk to you all then. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon.